Hey everyone, Dr. Barengroder here. So in this series of videos, I'm going to walk you through the very basics of the Blue Sky Plan guided surgery software. And in most of my videos, I refer to it as Blue Sky Plan Guide. So want to walk through everything from the very beginning through the end, and including kind of going over some of these menus up top. Each of this series of videos will be broken up into essentially phases of the software. And I'm not going to be walking through the wizard function, which quite literally walks you through the software. There's lots of videos on that on the blueskyplan.com website. Instead, I'm going to be focused on the advanced function, which is what I actually use on a day-to-day basis and what I typically teach in my courses. So first thing, it's a little out of order, but I want to show you up here is where you can see which module you are currently running. So you'll see that in the surgical guide software there is viewing, normal, advanced, and then we go down to cephalometric and orthodontic view. Over time there may be more modules added to this list, but this is where you can kind of get to the different modules. Right now we are currently in the viewing mode. I'm going to quickly switch to advanced. The reason I point this out to begin with is because depending on which module you're in, the tool or the menus up here may change. So starting with advanced mode, first things first, we're going to talk about the different things you find in file. First of all, file, new project. You can start from a DICOM or an STL file. Really, you're only ever going to start with a DICOM because this is a CT guided surgical software. Also, if you see that a lot of these menus have little shortcut buttons. So this would be if you hover over top, start from new patient scan. This next thing is open project, also found right here. And this one would be the STL file only. Okay, there's other options in here, but the only ones we're really going to be touching on is import DICOMs, giving you the option of importing a scan of an impression, a cone beam, a CBCT scan of an impression of a stone model, of a scan appliance, which is basically an impression or some other apparatus with various radiographic markers on there. Or I'm sorry, a scan appliance would traditionally be a denture with radiographic markers, most commonly, and then impression with markers. So anyway, either one of these are kind of interchangeable, but we're going to stick with the basics of just importing an STL model. That is basically a three-dimensional model that has already been created in another software, another program. Beyond that, export data, it's good to know this is here, but we really won't even be using it for the most part. And again, that's more for advanced functions. And then if you need to buy more STL exports, because the way this software works, it's free to download, free to plan. You just pay when you export, and you have to have your exports pre-purchased. So this button right here will take you to PayPal where you can order them. Okay. This is also where you will be able to save your project, save as, and you can also save your project locked. That way you can open it up and not fear that you may change something along the way. Okay, going to edit tools, we're not really going to mess with this at all. The only thing that's really useful in my opinion is the undo and redo, which are also up here and here. And the keyboard shortcuts for undo would be Control Z, and the redo shortcut would be Control Y. Tools, again, most of these little options are going to be listed down here, and the only thing that's real important is preferences down here. This you can come into surgical guide, and here you can change the offset. Right here would be the offset is basically the gap between the guide and the teeth, and the default is 0.2 millimeters. Depending on your printer that you're using, you may need to increase that or decrease that. That is really based on the fit you find with your guides. If you notice that they tend to be pretty loose, you might dial it down to 0.15. If you notice that none of them are seating, there may be other factors that are contributing, but it might require you to bump it up to, say, 0.25 or 30. In particular, if you're using an FDM printer like the Robox, that might need a little bit higher of an offset because it has a lower precision. There's a few other things in here, but nothing that you're really going to mess with too often. And honestly, most of these things, once you change them once, you're never going to change them again. Okay? Other menus as well, but we'll stick with this for now. Beyond that, the view we are currently in is or the perspective is in the implant tangential 3. You can see my check mark here. There's other options. The only ones I really flip between are this one and MPR. MPR is a typical radiographic view where it's going to have the 3D view down here and then the 3 different slices, all coming from 90 degrees to the model. And beyond that, I pretty much stick with this one, keyboard shortcut F3. Panels, as you see over here, these are the various panels I have open, and you'll see what they're used for later in the software. But there's the implant list, your guide panel, your model manipulation surfaces, and if you are adding teeth, there's the tooth list, if you're going to map a nerve. So there's various different panels here that may pop up on their own as you add certain functionalities, or you may need to, if you ever need to find them, here they are listed at all times. For instance, if I come over here to the surfaces panel, there's an X right here, and I close it, it disappears. I can always come back here, click on it, and it's back there again. You can also reorganize them to your liking. I have them in the order I like them. In fact, I've closed out some of the menus. I usually have the tooth list, the nerve list, the parts panel, and I would say that's probably the screenshots over there. Screenshots is not. Screenshots, I think that's it, because I usually have it pretty full. Okay. And so that looks like a pretty good order for me. So, okay, well, continuing along, again, these tools right here, adding teeth, removing teeth, replacing teeth, the add tooth function is right here, which is about, I never use this menu, but just so you know it's there. This is right here is the same thing as what's over here. I would recommend sticking with this one just to help you realize it's always separate over there. And then your help functions. If you ever want to see if there's an update for the software, you can click here. And yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to move on to the next section. We'll be working up the case.